just like so many other states in our country today. We'll never, ever elect another conservative to a high office in this country. Yeah. That is why this evil that you described is being ignored in the highest offices in our country. This is I mean, it's horrible what you're showing here, but it really, the unfortunate people who die out in the brush and these unfortunate children who end up in prostitution are a price that others are willing to pay. It's not about prostitution and the money that's made from the smuggling. That's not the ultimate reason for this activity. This is activity that's being essentially condoned by very, very cynical politicians at the highest level in our country. And it's an amazement to me, after watching it for all these many decades, that this has continued.
Right.
That people in Washington, D.C., who we elect, the people that we elect as conservatives and send up there, are not doing everything they can. There's nobody talking about this at the upper levels.
I know.
But the reason is not about prostitution and smuggling. The reason is about eventually capturing Texas for the communist agenda. And we will never, ever be able to elect another conservative when that happens.
Yeah, I mean, I know that's a big part of it, but I do think someone is making money off these children.
Yeah.
But it's only yes,
that's a byproduct.
It's profitable in the meantime, but that's only incidental to the eventual end.
Right. Okay, so DPS, of course, is concerned about the sharp increases in the illegal alien apprehensions, and they're concerned about the increase of number of unaccompanied alien children. Did anyone see we've already had 20,000, is that right, since January 1st?
Yep.
According to the governor?
That's 20,000 they apprehended.
That they apprehended. And Border Patrol estimates they catch maybe 1 out of 5.
So that's 100,000.
So 100,000 made the attempt, right?
And 80,000 made it.
DPS considers sex trafficking organizations operating in Texas to address the illicit demand for commercial sex with children, particularly alarming as it is difficult to detect and rescue these children. And many times it may appear to be smuggling, but it actually is the vilest kind of human trafficking. And so I'm also working with the legislature to make sure that we have laws that will address the most vile of trafficking. We have to increase the penalties. We have to make sure that Texas is looked upon as not the place you want to get caught doing this. And we already talked about gang involvement, and it's only going to get bigger. And if you're ever interested, go out on the DPS website. You can pull up the DPS gang assessment for the state of Texas. It's virtually every community, and it's growing. And sex predators and manufacturers and viewers of child pornography constitute a continuing threat to children. We must protect our children. As long as the border with Mexico remains unsecure and the nation's demand for this kind of sexual exploitation and indentured servitude, it's going to be almost impossible for us to stop this without a huge public outcry. And this past summer, I was speaking with the Texas Ranger about this, and especially with the UACs coming over. He told me that the Texas Rangers believe that 70% of those children that came will be trafficked. Not necessarily sexually, but they will be trafficked either in labor or in the sex trade. And they estimate that once they've gone into the traffic world, they have a life expectancy of about 7 years. That's the average. But it's very cost effective for them to bring a child, first of all, someone that's looking for a child for those purposes, they're going to pay big dollars. They're going to pay big dollars. And so if they use them as a prostitute, they make money over and over and over again. Even if they sell them for a personal slave, they can make $50,000 or more a pop. And you know, dying, as he said, dying out in the brush, that may not be the worst thing that happens to some of these folks. Now, these pictures on the left, that's what the media and the government want you to believe is a humanitarian crisis. Someone that comes across the river right up to Border Patrol and they give them a protein bar and a bottle of water. And that's not an exaggeration. I saw it for myself. And these folks down here, yeah, they're crowded, but they've got a bed. They've got clean clothes, you know. I suggest that pictures on the right, that's our humanitarian crisis. Don't we think of in America as ending slavery? Well, this is going around all around the world, but America is a very big perpetrator of it and user.
Mary, did you go to the convention last year?
In Fort Worth? Yeah.
Did you notice how hard they fought for the Texas solution?
I did. All right, this is just a short 3-minute video that I think that you'll find interesting. That video always makes me cry. You know, in January 2017, Houston is going to host the Super Bowl. Pimps know that that's their #1 money-making day of the year. And they will truck, and I mean literally truck in semi-loads of girls to set up an ad hoc massage parlor. They will bring in at least 1,000 girls, at least. And they will make hundreds of dollars each time on those girls. So while we're all watching the game, remember what some of the rest of the world is doing. And we need to surround Houston in prayer that we can end this before the Super Bowl, that this will not happen in Houston next year. Now, as I said, the United States is one of the largest markets for the sex and labor slavery in the world. #1. None of this horror would be possible if our culture didn't create a demand for it. And the demand for pornography is growing by leaps and bounds, especially with the internet. And modern day slavery, please don't ever forget this line. Modern day slavery is only occurring because we choose to ignore it. We don't see it with our eyes. We don't think about it. It's too hard. But we have prostitution rings that have come up in our high schools, back in where I am, in CCISD. And it's not your typical pimp kind of relationship. It's some boyfriend. Some girl thinks this is her boyfriend. And so our children are vulnerable in so many ways. We have to be careful. They all have a cell phone. They're taking pictures of themselves and posting that they shouldn't. They're in chat rooms and think they're talking to another teenager when they're not. They don't know who's on the other side of that screen. They don't know. Our kids are in danger. Over 100,000 American children are missing and thought to be trafficked every day. And the police will say that if your child is missing for 48 hours, 1 in 3 are already being trafficked. It's that fast. They can spot a vulnerable child. That's what they do, and they're good at it. They're good at it. And you know, the girl or the boy doesn't necessarily know that's what they're doing. They think they're being taken care of. They think that this guy loves them. That's what they think, because they've gotten confused because of our culture. What love is, what attention means. So we have to do better. You know, we have to do better. We have to have our kids in church. We have to make sure that it's a good church. You know, all of those things. So that ends my presentation. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that I can. I hope it was informative. I hope I was able to tell you something you didn't know. Any questions?
Question.
Becky, I saw your hand first.
This gentleman asked a little bit ago, where does the money come from that these kids, little kids, teenagers, where does the money come from that they are able to come here to America? Who's funding this?
Best guess, the cartels. The families may pay whatever amount they can pay. They may have sold that child to the cartel to bring. They may have made some kind of arrangement. But then when the child gets here, they have to work that debt off. And that's where the indentured servitude comes in, the labor trade. Somebody pays it, you're right. And it's generally not the family.
Bad guys always get paid.
They know
Every
that
time.
they can make the money if they can get the child here. They don't worry about that. Yes, ma'am.
I was just wondering if there are any programs going into our schools to enlighten the students about the human trafficking situation?
You know, we're so far behind in that. There are groups that are trying and they're working on it and they're developing programs. So maybe not in your ISD right now, but if you don't have one, or if you can find out that you don't, let me know. And because that's one of the things that I'm trying to do, is to get a collaboration going so we can get that out and I can find the people in that area or bring someone in. So there are programs that they've developed for that age group, age appropriate. But yes, we're trying to spread that all over the state. Yes, ma'am.
Is there any effort going out that's getting word to the beginning of the trip? I mean, I know as a parent, if I'm thinking that I'm sending my child for a better life, how does that work? Do they not know? Do they not get the news? Do they not care? I mean, I just...
They have a different morality.
Well, I think that, you know, when the administration puts the ads in their local paper saying come and, you know, amnesty is coming. And they did that. They literally did that. If you need to come to the United States, come on, the border's open. But that's not their exact words, but those are the ads that they sent out to Central America.
Well, I mean, I could see that like from a working age person, but we're talking children.
No,
here.
they said your children. It was geared towards sending the children. Because I think that they believed and they were told beyond the advertisements that once the child got here, then we're going to allow the family to come and that sort of thing.
Okay.
And the cartels and the Romeos down there, they feed into the mythology of getting through the border. You know, many times they're not told what the real price is until they're at the border. And then it's like, oh, we got to charge you another $5,000. And they're like, what?
And so at that point, they become a slave, basically.
Absolutely.
Because you have to pay it off.
Right.
You got to work it off.
You do. Because they know where your family lives, back in Guatemala,
Exactly.
Honduras, El Salvador.
No one comes without paying the toll. No one. They don't.
So you're in Austin and you talk to legislators and stuff. I mean, you know, the Constitution says that we're supposed to be protected from invasion. Do you ever hit the legislators up and say, hey, what's the deal? You know, we've got a contract with the United States. Article 4, Section 4 says, and shall protect them from invasion. You just told us there's 100,000 people that cross the border. We're providing subsidies. We're providing incentives for people to come here. What do the legislators say when do you ever point that out? That I'm sure you do. What do they say?
It depends on the legislature. Many like to say that's a federal issue. There's nothing the state can do. But now that we have a new governor, it appears that that may be changing. You're probably aware, the group may be aware. The grassroots, Dale was the main author. We've written a paper on interstate compacts, and we believe that we can get enough states together to agree on this, that something has to be done. The interstate compact is a constitutionally sound way to remove the president from the equation. All it needs are at least 2 states to agree to the contract. That gets sent to Congress. Why do you think we work so hard to change the Senate? All it needs is a simple majority in the House and the Senate to approve it. It becomes federal law. It doesn't, the president has no opportunity to veto it. He cannot change it. He cannot revoke it. Congress cannot revoke it. It becomes federal law up until the time that the states that are part of the contract decide to either amend it or end it.
But will he enforce it?
Well, let me give you a couple
He
of facts.
can't not enforce it.
Oh.
No,
You
no.
don't enforce the laws now.
No, well, there's
Excuse
that.
me. It doesn't become part of that. What an interstate compact does is that it takes a portion of delegated federal authority, say immigration enforcement, and delegates that to the state
Yeah.
if Congress approves it. With a Republican Congress, we could have that approved. All it takes is Republicans to act. A couple more facts. The Texas Senate, I just got, you know Joanne Fleming, right? She sent me a text today after listening to McCall, DPS chief, talk to the Senate Finance Committee. The Senate does not have a definition of a secure border. They don't know what that means. They talk about it a lot, but they don't know what that means. Greg Abbott last week finally articulated what the administration today is saying, that a secure border means there are no unauthorized border crossings between the ports of entry.
Zero. He
Zero.
said.
That's
Zero.
their goal. And that's the first time that's been said in Texas. Number two, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick has in the Senate budget $815 million in the next biennium to put to border security. That's more than the last 7 years combined. You know, it's still a drop in the bucket, what it's needed. Greg Abbott is assembling, he hopes, through legislation, a force of 500 extra DPS, Texas Rangers, and other law enforcement to go out there and be a dedicated border brigade. So we are moving. The big problem that we have, and you sort of mentioned it down there, is the federal catch and release policies. That is breaking our back, because no matter what we do, the minute we turn them over to the feds, they are just processed and released. Only through an interstate compact can we remove that authority from the feds in Texas and the other compact states, and we can deport them ourselves. We can process them ourselves. We can man our own checkpoints for border patrol. That is what is needed. And we are working with legislators in the Texas House, the Texas Senate. In fact, we're already working with the staffs of Abbott and Patrick. So we are moving on this issue.
What's the second state?
Don't know, don't care. Probably Arizona.
Yeah,
because
New
we have
Mexico won't play?
Huh?
New Mexico won't play?
They're too liberal.
We don't know,
We
but
don't
probably
know.
not.
But you know, there were 26 states that filed against Obama's
Right.
amnesty.
Yeah, we think those 25 that joined on the lawsuit are our best bet to
And
start
the
with.
strategy basically is to have not one overreaching, comprehensive interstate compact on border enforcement, immigration enforcement, and border security, but have many specific directed interstate compacts addressing this issue, that issue, that issue. So states that go, okay, I can go along with a border brigade and paying for that and enforcing it. But your ideas on restricting education for illegal alien minors, I can't go along with. We'll go, fine. You don't do that, we'll do this. But it gives everybody an opportunity to take back some aspect of immigration control.
How far are you away from that?
Well, we're
It's
selling,
moving.
we're selling the issue to the
It's moving
Texas
in
government.
in the legislature.
It's going to take Greg Abbott. Either he supports it or he doesn't. If he does not support it, we're dead in the water.